Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Hope to not stress you all with the very last moments of this first day. And okay, let's start with the computational thinking. And nice to meet you. My name is Giulia Paludo. I'm a PhD candidate to University of Trento. This talk won't be strictly technical, as I have a background in cognitive sciences and neurosciences, and my research is about computer science education. My purpose with this talk is to make you question and leave you with some more questions, because this is more about thought-provoking and reflect on some aspects we will see. Okay, let's start with what every talk should have, a question to begin. So, which kind of task is programming? I think that if you're here, you program or you have done it at least once in your life. Which kind of task? Come on, we have 13 minutes and 50 seconds left. Here we go. Thinking, okay. Even more concretely. Yes? Okay, let's simplify it doing math. Okay, some more, even like typing, writing, concretely. Yes? Creating results. Okay? Yes? Formulating instruction. That's a key point, 50 points to Gryffindors. Okay. What? Yeah, pushing buttons or a motor part, solving problems, and more in general, for what concerns the thinking, which is something I probably used to in all your everyday life. It's something about the procedure, to creating procedure, to solving problems, and I like to think about the supermarket lines, because it's a situation in which we are there. And if you have the expertise in creating a solution, building processes and stuff, I suppose you are wondering why people on the line are putting their items in such an inefficient way, or the cashier is not so smooth. And maybe you are reflecting on how we could make an algorithm to improve this damn frustration. Let's move a step forward. Which kind of task is programming but for your brain? So thinking, we said it's broad, but more in detail. When you're solving a problem, what you are doing. Let's try to do something you're good at, so breaking the big chunk into pieces. Yes? Yes, creating sequences. Some more? Yes. Yes, the abstraction. And some more? Yes? Recognizing patterns. Okay, yeah, you definitely centering the point. In fact, there are many aspects that are involved, and we have problem solving, error monitoring, logical reasoning, planning and sequences. All these elements are called HOTS, in part because they are super slay, but because for your brain they are higher order thinking skills. It's something at the very high level, but at the same time, and here to me as a brain nerdy is something so fascinating, is the brain reflecting on itself. Because when you do error monitoring, planning, and sequences, you are basically not only thinking, but thinking about thinking and removing the pieces as long as you go. Some people would argue, yeah, it's something I would do even when I'm writing something, even on paper or on digital. At the same time, the fact that you are interacting with a device and then the code you're writing and you're thinking about will run and sometimes will not run as you want, this immediate feedback has the implication of making these activities and many more of the dashed circles at a higher level compared to another person doing a writing simple task. In fact, then other things we have are like the aspect of writing, maybe also visually reasoning if you are doing something that implies having visual elements, combination or something. And from looking at your brain, what it happens is basically a Christmas tree of activations, because as I was mentioning, higher order thinking skills do not have only some small areas, but they are an interplay of many more. And yes, we have like in the back, okay, like in the back, something visual, but also recalling what is the memory, working memory as long as you go, old memory to recall patterns. Pattern recognition happens only if you can recognize the pattern, so recall what happened in the past, but also a lot of linguistic stuff. And by breaking down the task into pieces, as we've done, the key points we have to keep in mind to go through the processes of your mind are about the abstraction and representation, so why we have the visual areas activated, not only because you're looking at a screen, but because visual areas are involved also when we work with our imagination. So not only what we see, but with the visual elements we are recalling and elaborating. And the aspect of expression, that's what I was mentioning, is you are solving a problem, but you are not just saying, this is the problem, okay, this is my solution as the final result, but you have to express the overall process you are undergone in a clear way so someone else or something else can execute it correctly, and the debugging that had the processes we were mentioning before of thinking about thinking, recalling errors, and everything. And said so, all these processes make computer programming a cognitive invention. A cognitive invention is like reading, writing, making arithmetics, and that similar stuff. Our brain was wired to make some things. We have the hardware to do so, okay, but luckily, our ancestors weren't able to do complex math or writing or reading at the very early stages, but was something that was built over these elements. So the areas like the one devolved to the visual analysis were partially devoted to became super skilled in recognizing patterns around many other patterns that from words became letters, that became text, that became phrases, and so you can read and recognize quickly text and numbers. As well, we used to be able to manage quantities, and now we can make math. The two main perspectives that are kind of a controversy in thinking, okay, so programming is only being good at math in a new way? Yes and no, because on a side, we have the problem solving, so with all the elements that occurred, you raise your hand and say, but at the same time, when we are talking about expressing a solution, we can say that you are working with literacy, because literacy is about now you can have literacy for everything, like media literacy and so, but the key concept is that literacy, by definition, is the manipulation of a symbolic system, like the literacy of music. You have a musician manipulating the symbolic system behind music. And so you, as a programmer, you are becoming a real expert in manipulating a specific symbolic system you use to express your solution or whatever you want. Because a quote was, everything is code. You can narrate your life with that system, because at everything point is a symbolic system. And the key points in this interplay of having a problem solving and a literacy together is the part of cognitive representation, the fact that we have elaboration as pipeline, and the aspect of generation. So the thing is that you are working with building blocks with specific rules, as you do with phrases and grammar. Compare the German with the Italian, so you have different structures and so on. The fact you use a specific elaboration pipeline. So in reading is about the subject, the object, the verb, and everything, or just the order you read from left to right, but also the organization, the hierarchy organization you have of the pieces of code you're writing, but most importantly, the part of generation, which is not only problem solving, but is something more. In this, a component every programmer kind of automatized is computational thinking. Computational thinking is the mental process of formulating a process. Formulating is the key, because you're not just approaching it, but you have to build your own representation to it and express a solution so they can effectively implement it by an external executor, whether human or artificial. And these elements that you mentioned at the beginning are becoming wired processes. And the key point in this is that these processes, which are really similar to the part of the language and literacy, becomes part of your daily life, even out of a program. And this means that this circle of decomposing, pattern recognition, and so becomes a common practice in which you not only approach your work, but also how you tackle daily life and even your internal voice, let's say. And so when we talk about literacy and problem solving, we can say, okay, maybe a very good dev's mind is like a poet one, so there's not this strict division between humanities and code. In this, neurosciences and similar are a bit still young, because not so much research was done, and also there are many methodological debates about what we ask to participants to do. So if I ask you a specific task and I measure a specific one, of course you are good at both if they are more or less the same thing. So many are different. But there are evidences that the programmer brains are less activated in some specific tasks like inductive reasoning, but also some related to verbal abilities. Not low activation is a good point, because your brain is less activated because for you is easier. Instead, a non-programmer person has more struggle, so you see this very dark, very activation, very burned. Okay. And in this developmental lens, so we see how these processes came out. These are about the recycling processes, is called like this, neurons recycle, because many parts are now of the programmer brains. This is possible because those parts see structures now devoted to manipulate the fusion between problem solving and literacy way better than a non-programmer does. And so, to conclude in the last minute, why is this relevant? Well, of course, for science sake, because it's curiosity. We like it. At the same time, at the beginning we were talking about symbolic system. Learning a symbolic system that basically becomes part of the way it becomes part of how you express and you reason in your daily life. It's not a little thing. This means that it have implication on a cultural side, because having like the comparison between Asia and us, and the approach analytical or holistical, it's different. And even this think about of education. So if education was more about math and reading, now it's becoming code. And taking care of these aspects underlying the concept of learning code, it's necessary because it's a new literacy. Introducing a new literacy has consequences. Thank you.